Hey guys, as I mentioned, there's three things I wanted to cover today, and I don't think these will take very long, so I'm doing it this way instead of having us meet in class. Um, but just because these are short doesn't mean they're not important. All three of these points are important for you to consider. The first one we've kind of mentioned before, and that's that if it makes sense, you should include a comparison to something familiar somewhere in your paper. So, in other words, if you're doing a review of Joe's Burger Bar, then somewhere in the paper, since your readers have never heard of this place, you might say it's more like Five Guys or In N Out than it is a Burger King or a McDonald's. Then that helps the reader because they say, oh, okay, now I get what kind of place it is. By comparing to something they're already familiar with, you're sort of helping them figure out what kind of thing this is. And again, the more you can help your reader, the more they trust you. The more they trust you, the stronger your argument. Um, Now, sometimes that's not appropriate to do. There is no comparison. Elon Musk is selling his Cybertruck now from Tesla, and there's really nothing else like it. So if you were doing a review of a Cybertruck from Tesla, there really wouldn't be anything to compare it to. So only do it if it makes sense and if it's appropriate. All right, point number two is that you don't want to turn in your criteria as your paper. What do I mean by that? Sometimes people will come up with criteria in the way that we did. So, for example, somebody in class the other day in a group was saying, what makes a good NFL franchise? And we were talking about, having solid team camaraderie, having good coaching, good specialty teams, a great stadium to play in, an excited fan base, or whatever, period. Sometimes I've had people turn in that as their paper, where they just say, here's what would make a great NFL team, but they don't actually review any particular team. All right. So that's what I refer to as turning in your criteria instead of your review. So, in other words, once you've established that criteria, now you can go and evaluate a team like the Baltimore Ravens, say, and use that yardstick. Do they have great coaching? Do they have great team camaraderie? Do they have a great stadium? Do they have a great fan base? And do a review of the Ravens as a franchise based on those criteria. All right. But you have to take the criteria and apply that to something specific, not just here's what in general would be a great football team. That's not the paper. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, send me an email and I'll try to clear it up a little bit more. The third point is that you have to know your audience. All right. Before you write anything, you need to know your purpose and your audience. All right. Well, we already know your purpose. You're going to do a review, evaluation of something. What does audience have to do with it? Well, for example, the main thing you have to know is how expert is your audience. So, in other words, let's say you're a guitar player and you want to review a new guitar that's come out, a new electric guitar. Now, if you're writing for a non-expert audience, you can imagine you're writing something like, a good first guitar for your 15-year-old kid. Well, who's your audience? Well, it's probably parents who want to buy that guitar for their kid, but they don't know anything about guitars. So, before you start using terminology like neck, fretboard, machine head, bridge, and so on, pickups, that's specialized terminology. And those parents who are just trying to buy a decent, inexpensive guitar for their kid are going to have no idea what you're talking about. So you may, if that's your imaginary audience, you probably have to define your terms a little bit more. They're non-experts. But on the other hand, flip that over. If you're reviewing a guitar and your imaginary audience is professional guitarists, let's say you're writing for Guitar Player magazine, that's a real magazine. That case, if you start explaining what a nut is and what a neck is and what a fretboard is and what a bridge is and what pickups are, they're going to think you're nuts. It's like, why is this person telling me all this basic stuff about a guitar? I'm a professional guitarist, right? So again, for this purposes of this paper, I'm your audience. I'm the one who's going to be reading it and grading it. But it doesn't hurt to have uh, an imaginary audience in mind, right? So um, if you are, let's say you're writing a review of a pair of track spikes, for shoes. And again, are you reviewing these for somebody who's already owned track spikes, who's already on a team, who already knows what you're talking about or not? So that's something else to keep in mind and be consistent about if you're writing your paper. All right, that's my 3 points. I was supposed to come up with a question to prove that you had watched this, but I'm going to leave that up to you. You guys just should watch this. This is information that you need. If you have any questions about any of these 3 points, just let me know and have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.